Hi, my friends. Thanks for joining us today. It's Tim on our journey through the Bible, and just enjoying another beautiful, breezy day here in Hungary as we consider the scriptures. Our reading for today was in First Chronicles 17 to 20, and I've called this the lesson on giving. Now, I'm not naive. I know that usually when a pastor announces he'll be speaking on giving, you already know he's going to be making an appeal to increase the church's offering. But that's not the message of First Chronicles 17. Uh, Although it is a wonderful story about giving. But in this story, God is the giver. It begins with David's desire to build a house for God. In verse 1, we read, "It came to pass as David sat in his house, David said to Nathan the prophet, Lo, I dwell in a house of cedars, but the ark of the covenant of the Lord remaineth under curtains." I can just picture David and Nathan having coffee together in the palace, and as David is comparing his beautiful house with a simple tent that housed the Ark of the Covenant, he didn't like that picture. And as he and Nathan talked about this, he proposes a house for God that would be at least a match for his own, and even more than that. It doesn't seem like Nathan has the details of what David has in mind, but he gives David a green light to do what he has in mind. Go with it, David. Well, now that the Ark of the Covenant is successfully given its home in Jerusalem, uh, David's is thinking about something that's, in his eyes, much greater, much more splendid. He's traveled, he's seen the temples other people have built in other nations of their pagan gods that are useless idols they can't see, they can't hear, they can't save, and visualized something even more amazing, a temple that would be the home of God and a place for the Ark of the Covenant, permanent rest for that ark in a house of cedar in Jerusalem. And at that point, God reminded Nathan that not a bad idea, but David is not the one to do this. We need to keep in mind that God owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. The earth is God's and the fullness thereof. He dwells in heaven in unapproachable light and glory that we can't even imagine. I don't think God is very impressed by a house of cedar, but it's not a bad idea. But then God reminds David of something that in all the places that he's walked with Israel over the years, uh, he never asked them to build him a house of cedar. And then God reminds David of all the things that he'd done for him. He said, I took thee from the sheep goat, from following the sheep, that thou shouldest be ruler over my people Israel. And I have been with thee whithersoever thou hast walked, and have cut off all thine enemies from before thee, and hast made thy name like the name of the great men that are on the earth. And then we get to the best part of this story, where God just reverses this plan. He flips it upside down. David wanted to build God a house. And God says, you know what? I'm going to build you a house, David. Someone has once said, you can't outgive God. And he proves it one more time in this story. He tells David, I will subdue all thine enemies. And furthermore, I tell thee that the Lord will build thee an house. And it shall come to pass that when thy days are expired, that thou must go to be with thy fathers, I will raise up after thy seed after thee, which shall be of thy sons, and I will establish his kingdom. He goes on to say, I will settle him in my house, my kingdom forever, and his throne shall be established forever. And what God is doing is describing that amazing dynasty of King David that would lead to the Messiah himself, who would rule the nations of this earth with a rod of iron from Jerusalem, the King of kings and the Lord of lords that are part of this house that God is building for David. You see, when we give, we need to remember God is the ultimate giver. Behind the desire of every believer to give uh, is the desire to be like God, and He is a giver. After all, doesn't the Bible tell us God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in Him should not perish, but have everlasting life? Meditate on that today, my friends, when you think about giving. And continue in your reading. Tomorrow our reading is going to be in First Chronicles 21 to 23. And I encourage you to dig into that, and I'll be glad to be back with you again tomorrow. Have a great day, folks. See you soon.